So now that I got your attention, I'm gonna focus this. This is Dr. Daniel Bay with Clothes for Chiro. And I don't know about you guys, but I've been to many doctor's offices throughout my entire life. I've been to doctor's offices with other people. More often than not, there's always this bitch with the bun behind the desk, slides the frosted glass open, doesn't even make eye contact, or she looks at you like this. And there's like the eyeglass chain hanging, and she throws you the paperwork, and she tells you some simple instructions to fill it out and sit down, and then we sit down. You know, that right there is a clear indication that the people running this place, A, don't care, but more importantly, from a business perspective, they are not looking at anything other than from the perspective of the provider of the service, not the perspective of the person that's coming in. Because if they did, I'm pretty sure that's not how they want to be treated. I don't know about you docs, but as wonderful doctors as we may be, we are exponentially worse patients, okay? So I just recently took my son in to another doctor. Actually, I need to confess, I got fired as my son's chiropractor recently. I did. And I completely relinquished the control of being my son's chiropractor, because the whole saying of you can't be your family's doctor, it's true. I think I don't have to tell you, family members are the toughest to take care of. So I said, you know what? I'm just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna let some other good doc close by take care of my family, especially my son, and just do your thing. So being in the business, we look at it from a different lens as the consumer. So if we're consuming a product or service that we're actually providing. And unfortunately, when we go through our practice and we try to see in the perspective of our prospects, for other industries, what actually happens is that you lose touch with that, okay? So what I recommend is this, is when you walk in your front door, walk in your front door like you would if you were a patient. Okay, I have gone as far as to walk through my clinic and my practice on my knees, because I see a lot of little guys. And I'll get on my knees and I'll walk through and I'll just see what it looks like from that perspective. And you'll learn a ton. And we've been teaching this idea of getting into the perspective of your prospects for years, but we never really go over the strategies to do that. So from a child, if you have a pediatric practice, I'm sure you do that, everything should be lower. And case in point, one time I was going through my old office, my bigger office, 3,000 square feet, huge. Right now I'm in a smaller office. It didn't matter because it was this long hallway. And I remember on my knees, from the perspective of a 5-year-old, I'm walking, I'm kneeling by, I'm going, I'm like, look at the side of the wall. I'm like, what the F is that? And I come to realize as I go look closer and I have my own kids, I know what smeared boogers looks like, okay? Totally smeared boogers. So what happens is the kids come in, they pick their little noses, and then they just smear it right across the hallway. And you would never have seen that unless you were on your knees. So getting in the perspective of the people coming in is an art form. You're so used to what you do that you don't look at it from that perspective. Now, the bitch with the bun behind the sliding glass window is a metaphor for all the things in your practices that don't fit the eye of the prospects that are coming in, okay? And that doesn't include your physical space. It also includes the way you speak to your new patients, the way you handle them on the phone. Unfortunately, we handle them on the phone and in person and even our physical spaces like they know what chiropractic is. They don't. Case in point, the doc who starts out a new patient consultation doing a cartwheel into the exam room asking for a high pie. Seriously. By the way, I'm not making this stuff up. This really happens. I have a recording. I have proof that this absolutely happens. So the bitch with the bun behind the glass window prevails throughout your entire practice. If you're not thinking constantly, what does this look like? What does this sound like? What does this feel like for someone who has no idea what you do, no idea about chiropractic, and their only reason for being in there is to get a solution to a problem, period. If you can stay in that state of mind in your daily routine, it's a game changer, docs. Complete and utter game changer. And these are things that can be taught, because sometimes you need an outside person to tell you, hey, you know what this looks like? And case in point, how I learned this stuff, and I was going to do another video on this, but I'll just tell you right now if you're still with me, is I used to interview my patients. And it was just, duh. I asked them of the third or fourth visit, I said, now it's like, so you came through my practice, what did you think? Like, what was your impression? And I get everything from the painkiller was a little dark, the seat cushions were a little whatever, the front desk didn't do this. I got all this intel. It's kind of like being in a deliberation room in a jury. Like, you get insider information. All you gotta do is ask, okay? So, lightning tip number 1, or I don't know what number this is, number 3 or 4 or whatever, is the next close that you do, once they accept care, or even if they don't, if you can get them to sit down with you, is ask them, hey, let me ask you, what was your impression? And don't lead them. Don't, and by the way, if you ask this, you got to be ready to handle what comes out and be willing to change those things. And interview them. And you'll be surprised how many people are so open to doing that. Okay? So that's a quick tip, lightning tip for you here at the Close for Chiro headquarters. This is Dr. Daniel Bay with Close for Chiro, and we'll see you on the next one, all right?